Every night for 11 nights, a 22-year-old girl sat alone on a cold hallway floor. No phone, no music, just her back against the wall and the low hum of a radiator that worked when it felt like it. She wasn't waiting for anything. She told herself that. From behind the washing machine, two amber eyes were watching her the whole time, patient, unblinking, the way only something that has survived a long time alone knows how to watch. Nobody wanted the black cat with the golden eyes. He had been returned twice, called too loud, too difficult, too much. He spent 58 days in a shelter kennel watching people walk past without slowing down. Some glanced, most didn't. Then a 22-year-old girl sat down on a cold hallway floor, not calling him, not reaching for him, not trying at all, just sitting there like she had nowhere better to be. And on day 12, Nero made his choice. Two people who had forgotten what it felt like to be chosen slowly remembered. He was returned twice. The first family said he was too loud, too vocal, too opinionated, too present in a way that made their apartment feel smaller. The second family lasted exactly 11 days, called the shelter on a Wednesday morning and said he was too wild, too demanding, too everything. They used the word exhausting twice in the same sentence. The shelter volunteers had their own word for him, relentless. Not as a complaint, just as a fact, because Nero, a sleek jet black cat with eyes the color of amber and the personal schedule of someone who had long ago decided the world should adapt to him, had a system for everything and expected everyone around him to eventually catch on. He chirped at the window every morning at 6:14 a.m. Not mowed, chirped, high and deliberate, like a notification that could not be snoozed. He yelled at the ceiling on Tuesday evenings for reasons no one at the shelter ever determined. He knocked a water bottle off the intake desk every single afternoon. Always the water bottle, with the calm precision of someone making a statement they had made before and would make again. In 58 days at Maplewood Animal Rescue, he had been passed by 29 families, returned by 2. Nobody took him home. Ava was 22 years old and had lived alone for 7 months in an apartment that felt like it belonged to someone more settled than her. Not alone in the way people romanticize on social media, alone in the specific, grinding way that happens when the life you planned quietly falls apart before you had time to notice. A relationship that ended without a fight, a city that felt exciting until it didn't, a version of yourself that had seemed so certain just a year ago. Her apartment had bare walls and a kitchen table she ate at every night with her laptop open to something she wasn't really watching, because silence in a new city has a texture that takes some getting used to. She wasn't looking for a cat. She told herself she was just looking. It was a Sunday evening when she saw the shelter post shared by someone she barely knew, a photo of a large, magnificently black cat sitting in a kennel with his tail wrapped around his feet like a gentleman, staring at the wall as though it had said something mildly offensive and he was deciding whether to address it. Returned twice, 58 days. The post said he was a lot to handle and included 3 separate warnings in the caption. Ava read all 3. She screenshotted it without thinking. The cat was still there, still staring at the wall, still completely unbothered by the fact that no one had wanted him. She drove to the shelter the next afternoon. The volunteer at the front desk had clearly described Nero many times before and had developed a kind of exhausted affection for the process. He vocalizes, constantly and with intention. He has strong opinions about where things belong, and those opinions do not always align with yours. He knocked over our water bottle every single day for 2 months. Same bottle, same shelf, same time. We still don't fully understand it. She paused, seemed to weigh something. He is also the most intelligent animal I have personally worked with in 6 years of doing this. That is either a selling point or a warning, depending on who you are. Ava walked directly to Kennel 9. Nero was sitting in the back corner, enormous tail wrapped around his feet, studying the wall with the focused attention of someone reviewing a document they had already read several times. When Ava crouched down in front of the kennel door, he turned his head slowly and looked at her, the way a person looks at someone who has shown up to a meeting they weren't invited to. Not hostile, just assessing. "Hi," Ava said. Nero held her gaze for 3 full seconds. Then he turned back to the wall. Ava stayed crouched there longer than was probably necessary. She looked at the jet black cat who had just dismissed her with complete indifference. She thought about her apartment, the bare walls, the laptop open to something she wasn't watching. She thought about all the small ways she had been telling herself things were fine when they were mostly just quiet. "I'll take him," Ava said. The volunteer blinked. "You've read the warnings?" "3 times," Ava said. She signed the paperwork without hesitating. The first week was a quiet disaster in the way that things are when two people who don't yet trust each other are trying to share a space. Nero disappeared behind the washing machine within 6 minutes of arriving and did not come out for 2 full days. Ava left a small plate of food near the laundry room entrance, not close, just within reasonable reach, like leaving something on a doorstep without knocking. By morning, the plate was always empty. She refilled it without comment. The third night, Ava added a small piece of chicken from her own dinner. It was gone by midnight. She didn't make anything of it. She just kept leaving the plate. On the 4th night, Ava sat down on the hallway floor outside the laundry room with her back against the wall and her laptop balanced on her knees. She wasn't trying to coax him out. She had just found herself tired of performing okayness in every room and ended up in the hallway the way you sometimes end up somewhere you didn't plan to be. She didn't call his name, just sat there the way you sit when you stopped pretending. Because for the next 11 nights, that hallway became her spot. Every night, same wall, same quiet. Some evenings she worked. Some evenings she just sat with her knees to her chest and did nothing, which she had not allowed herself in longer than she could remember. From behind the washing machine, 2 amber eyes watched every night, patient, still. If you're still watching and haven't subscribed yet, honestly, that bothers me a little. Hit subscribe. You'll want to be here for what comes next. On day 12, at 6:51 in the morning, Ava came into the kitchen in her coat because the heat had gone out again. Hair unwashed, coffee not yet made, the kind of morning that has no shape yet. Nero walked in from the hallway. He didn't announce himself. No chirping, no knocking anything over, no Tuesday ceiling yelling. He walked into the kitchen with the measured, unhurried dignity of someone who had made a decision privately and was now acting on it. He crossed the kitchen floor. He looked at Ava for a long, still moment, then he jumped onto the chair across from hers, the empty one, empty for 7 months. He turned once, settled, and tucked his paws beneath his chest, close enough that the tip of his tail drifted toward her coffee cup. Ava did not reach for him, did not speak, just filled her mug and sat down. For the first time since she moved in, the kitchen felt like somewhere she was actually supposed to be. After that, the apartment changed, not in any dramatic way, in the slow, layered way that real things shift. Nero had strong opinions, and Ava learned them quickly. He disapproved of her morning playlist and planted himself directly in front of her speaker with the expression of a building inspector who had found multiple violations. He had claimed the left side of the couch through no mechanism other than sitting beside anyone who occupied it and staring until they relocated. Ava relocated every time, and after a while she stopped sitting there at all, which Nero seemed to consider a satisfactory resolution. Every morning at 6:14 a.m., without exception, he sat outside her bedroom door and chirped once. Once. Ava started waking up at 6:13 just to open the door before he had to ask. She never mentioned this to anyone. Some things are just between two people. The night Ava got a message that arrived at 10 p.m. and landed badly, the kind that makes you put your phone face down and sit very still, Nero walked in, looked at her, and walked back out. She exhaled, even the cat. But then he came back. He was carrying his toy, a small stuffed bird with a missing wing that Ava had bought him in week 1. He dropped it at her feet, then sat down beside her, not touching her, just present, the way someone stays when they don't have the right words but refuse to leave anyway. Ava picked up the bird, Nero climbed into her lap and stayed. Later, brushing her teeth, she said quietly to no one, "He always knows." The silences in the apartment were different after that, more like the silence between people who have gotten comfortable, less like the silence of an empty room. Ava started leaving her coffee unfinished and sitting at the table longer than she needed to. Nero sat across from her every morning, cleaning his face with one paw, perfectly indifferent to the fact that he had rearranged everything. Then came the night Ava almost left. Not the apartment, not the city, just herself, the version of herself that had been white-knuckling it for 7 months, showing up to work and answering texts and telling everyone she was adjusting fine. It was a Friday. She had gotten home late, eaten nothing, and sat down on the bathroom floor for reasons she could not have explained clearly to anyone. Not crying, just done. The particular exhaustion of people who have been holding it together so long they forget what it felt like before. Nero found her in 11 minutes. He walked into the bathroom, looked at her on the floor, and did not do the thing cats do where they seem mildly inconvenienced by human emotion. He sat down directly in front of her, closer than he had ever voluntarily been outside the kitchen or the couch. He looked at her with those amber eyes that had spent 58 days watching strangers walk past without stopping, and he did not look away. Ava stared back at him for a long moment. Then she said out loud to a cat, "I don't really know what I'm doing." Nero blinked once, slow and deliberate, the way he looked at things he had already decided about. Then he climbed into her lap on the bathroom floor, all of him, settled, heavy, warm, and started to purr. Not a small sound, a real one, the kind that moves through your chest from the outside in. Ava sat there on the cold tile for a long time, and somewhere in the middle of it, the done feeling loosened. Not disappeared, just loosened, the way things do when someone stays. She never told anyone about that night, but she stopped telling herself she was fine when she wasn't. That's the thing Nero did in the end. Not fix anything, just make it harder to lie about. He had been returned twice, spent 58 days watching families walk past. He had every reason not to trust anyone, but he chose her anyway, on his own terms, in his own time, in the unhurried way that real choices get made. And she chose him back. If you've ever given a real chance to something the world kept passing over, you already know what this feels like. And if you haven't yet, maybe Nero is your sign. Is it patience that changes them, or do they change us first? Tell me in the comments.